And, these ships, so the way they would operate, they required a lot of people. I mean, you had to climb the mast, you had to, to work the sails. And so, at this moment when they need, at least half of a complement of a ship. So let's say on the wager there were 250 men, you need about 125 on deck on watch working a ship. You know, they were lucky if they could muster 12 people to sail one of these vessels through a typhoon.
Through a typhoon where they also don't have any reliable coordinates where they are. And describe to us what it's like to sail around the Cape Horn. I mean, this sounds like I have never I've never appreciated the Panama Canal more than having after having read this
Yes,
book.
yes, it's so true. It's so true. And
Jesus, I
what's
would
always
I would have carried that ship on my shoulders rather than go through
yeah.
that hell.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to your very point, even before the Panama Canal, the Spanish Empire had become so terrified of trying to bring their cargo around Cape Horn, they had decided simply to sail their cargo to Panama, then haul their cargo through jungle infested, dying of yellow fever, and then load it on ships on the Pacific side, rather than try to tempt the fate around Cape Horn. So it just gives you a sense of how deadly it was. And again, it's always interesting to me when you do research because you have these vague notions of things. Like I was like, oh yeah, the seas around Cape Horn, they're really bad. Like I just knew that, but that was about all I knew. And you're like, oh yeah, that's always famously bad. Like, but when you do research, you just say, well, why? Like why? Like why there? Like why isn't it? Why is it so bad there? And then you realize, like, you do research and you learn that, like, oh my god, like it's the one place on Earth where the seas actually travel around the globe uninterrupted by land. So they're actually never hitting land. They're not getting dulled or blocked or slowed. So they accumulate power over about 13,000 miles. And then they get funneled into this narrow passage between Antarctica and the tip of South America, the island of Cape Horn. And the ground also shallows there. It suddenly shallows. So it generates the worst currents, the most violent currents, strongest currents on Earth. And then it also generates these Cape Horn roller waves that can dwarf a 90-foot mast. And then the winds there frequently accelerate to hurricane force, and they can reach even 200 miles per hour. There's a great quote from Herman Melville, who later rounded the horn. He compared it to a descent into hell in Dante's Inferno. And so when they're coming around the horn in these, 123 to 150-foot vessels, depending on the size of the warship, they are being bandied about as if they were on the pitiful rowboat. And just to give you an image or a vision, in one of the accounts, the winds are so strong and the ships are being bandied about so much they can't fly their sails because the sails keep blowing out. And yet one of the captains can't control the ship if he doesn't have any sails in the waves. So he orders his topmen, those are the people who climb the mast ordinarily to work the sails, who are often usually younger and lithe and quick, to climb these masts up about 100 feet in a typhoon when the ship is rocking about 45 degrees to one side and 45 degrees the other, to use their bodies and hold on to the ropes like, they're spider-like, to have their bodies act as sails to catch the wind in a gale. And so they are clinging and holding on. And it actually did allow that commander to maneuver the ship